friends. This is the Organizer Advisor, here to help you enhance your happiness and transform your life. This is Kitchen Week. Every nook and cranny cleaning our kitchen. So we started with the ceiling, cleaned the light fixture, made sure we had bright light in the kitchen. That's going to make a difference on how you feel when you're cooking. Also, we started our compass row strategy and started on the north wall. So we cleaned all the countertops, all the upper cabinetry, I don't have any here on the north wall, and all the lower cabinetry. And then we moved to the east wall, and just slowly and systematically going down the cabinetry, the countertops, and the lower cabinetry, and any appliance on that wall. So the oven is clean, and when I have a clean oven, I want to cook. So then we are working on the south wall today, which is that wall for me. So I've already cleaned my south wall, but the same process: cabinets, cupboards, countertops, decluttering, taking everything out, and then restructuring your kitchen so that you have the items that you use almost every day accessible, and then the items that you don't use that often in like big deep corner cabinets in the back or stored in your pantry. I also talked about the appliance cart and how much valuable real estate on your countertops is taken up by appliances. And if you have an appliance cart, you can house them all on there. You can roll them out when you need them, clean them up when you're finished, and put them back in their storage. You can see how much space this KitchenAid takes up. And so tomorrow we're going to finish the kitchen by doing the west wall. And remember to clean all of your appliances. I have videos in the playlist on how to clean your oven, your stovetop, your dishwasher, your microwave, your refrigerator, and your freezer. So I have all kinds of tips. You know, I'm giving you my best tips, tricks, advice, strategies, and all the best hacks from a realistic point of view. And I just want to touch on that before I start these cinnamon rolls. I try to make this very real for you. I bought this house, and many of you know my story. I bought this house for $35,000. It's about a 2,000 square foot brick cottage in the country on an acre and a quarter of land. I did get a tremendous bargain, but it needed a lot of love and a lot of work. I mean, it was ready to be demolished. The man who built the house lives right down there, lived until he passed away. He was literally going to demolish the house. It was in such bad shape, but it had good bones and it had good electrical wiring. The rest I can work with. It was a lot of work, and I wanted to do it on a shoestring budget because what I wanted, my mission was to prove to everybody that you can create the absolute life of your dreams. A life that's comfortable to you, that is representative of your authentic self. There's no justification needed for that. What works for you works for you. You don't have to justify it to anyone. So I wanted to prove it. My mother always taught me, I'm a fourth generation picker. I mean, thrift stores, garage sales, side of the road bargains, you know, the freebies. That's how I grew up. That's how my mother grew up. That's how my grandmother grew up. So I'm a fourth generation picker. That's how I learned a skill to walk into a thrift store. I can find the one treasure in a thrift store. I made an income off of going to garage sales and thrift stores and finding things and reselling. That was fun for me. I don't do that anymore. Way too much work. But it was a hobby, and I turned it into an income. But what I wanted to kind of bring together to you is that you can create the authentic life that fits you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be pleasant and comfortable and soul-soothing for you. And that's what this place is. This was renovated on a shoestring budget because I wanted to show that you have options and it doesn't have to take a lot of money. Granite countertops for this cottage was going to be over $5,000, $5,000 to $7,000. So I'm not going to do that. Most people on a limited budget aren't going to be able to do that. So instead, I spent $500 and I put mosaic tile. Actually, I had a very good friend who put this mosaic tile in. We worked together, but I love it. It gives it the cottage charm. But that's what works for me. Many of you would say, I can't do this. I got to have solid surface. But that's okay. I want you to feel liberated to create the life that you want with your stuff that you like, that's uplifting and happy for you. There aren't rules here. And this is a fully functioning kitchen that I cook in every single day. And it's done with such a high vibration that the food is infused with love and happiness. So let's get started on these cinnamon rolls because it's also the end of the month, and you know me, I'm going to use stuff that's in my pantry before it goes bad. I am a no food waste kind of woman. So I want to share a couple of tips with you while we're making these cinnamon rolls. You could be cleaning your south wall in your kitchen while you're watching or listening to this video, and I'm just going to share with you some of the, all the stuff that I try to infuse into all of these videos so they're interesting to you, but I guarantee you're going to learn something. And it's going to be useful, practical information that's going to make your life easier, uplift your happiness, or save you money. So let's get started on this. I have some flour, some sugar, and some salt in here, and I'm going to use my KitchenAid. I want to tell you, I'll have to show you this KitchenAid. This KitchenAid is probably, let's see, almost 30 years old. It was purchased in 1994. It is 30 years old. So it looks brand new because I take care of it. And that's one of the top money saving tips I have for you. Take care of your stuff. I showed you in the last video my cookware that I bought in 1988 that I use every single day, and it looks brand new because I take care of the things that I have. This my husband bought, and it has served me well, but it still looks brand new. So let's go ahead and put this in here. I'm going to use the mixing attachment, but I'm going to switch to the dough hook here in a bit. So I'm just going to put this in. This is only half of what this recipe calls for, but we're going to stir this, and then I'm going to add, these are sourdough cinnamon rolls. My dad loves cinnamon rolls, and cinnamon rolls are part of the comfort food for my family. My grandmother used to make them. So I'm just going to stir this. I'm going to replace this with the dough hook. I want to give you a couple of suggestions here. When you're cooking, make cleanup easy on yourself. I like to put down like a dish towel. I have a glass cutting board here, but I like to put a dish towel down when I'm working with flour or sugar, because if I spill something, then I can just take it right outside and just shake it to the wind. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my water and butter. This is lukewarm, and I'm just going to pour that in. Then I'm going to add my sourdough starter. I make sourdough bread all the time, so yeah, I have tons of sourdough starter. I teach sourdough classes, but this is going to make these cinnamon rolls They're gonna elevate it to the next dimension. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of yeast because I want a good rise on these cinnamon rolls. Now I'm gonna just stir that. Now while that's stirring, I'm gonna use this when I knead it, because I like to knead in a bowl because it keeps all the stuff together. When I roll out on a floured surface. I just want to say, as we're talking about the kind of using what we have, and I'll show you the ingredients that I'm using for this, but most of these are ingredients that need to be used, and so I'm using them. So last week of the month during my fiscal fast, I go through my pantry, my refrigerator, my freezer, and I look at what needs to be used, and then I cook around that. So I wanted to say, I have this tea, chamomile. If you're feeling kind of stressed, chamomile tea. I drink this, I just brew it, and then I put in a little wheatgrass. This is the supplement I had that I needed to use, and I put a few scoops into my tea while it's hot, and then I just put it in the refrigerator, so I have chamomile, wheatgrass, iced tea, so it's healthy, it's calming, and I'm using some stuff that I need to use. All right, so let's get started. Ooh, this is looking good. Just gonna scrape this down a little bit and give it a little churn. And then I'm gonna add the other half. Once that's all incorporated, I'm gonna add the other half of my flour, sugar, and salt mixture. And I'm going to go ahead and whisk this just a little bit. Put this in here. That's just going to incorporate it so I don't get any salt spots. Salt spots are like when you take a big bite of something and you get a whole bunch of salt. It's because you didn't stir it well when you were blending. And also, too much salt can kill the sourdough starter. So I don't want big chunks of salt. All right, that's looking pretty good. Just scrape down a little bit more before I add the other stuff. Cinnamon rolls are really fun, but if you haven't done any sourdough cooking, you may want to look into that. All right, now I'm going to put the rest of this in. How's that kitchen cleaning coming? And I'm going to switch to my larger spoon. See, I keep all of, this is like where I do all my cooking, right here in this little corner. So everything that I need needs to be very close by. And we talked about that in yesterday's video. So my knives are here, my utensils for stirring are here, my utensils for cooking, like sauteing and things, are there. So that way I'm not digging through lots of utensils. I know which one I need to go to. All right, let's get this started. Okay, so here is my dough, and it is ready to go into the pan. And I will knead it together just a little bit to bring it together a little bit more before I let it rise. So I'm gonna take my ring off. And yes, I did wash my hands. But I am just gonna bring this dough together a little bit more, and then I'm gonna put it, cover it with cellophane, and I'm gonna let it rise. And then we'll do a little bit more talking, and then we'll come back together when it's risen, and then I'll start to roll it out to make these luscious cinnamon rolls. In the meantime, I'll make the cinnamon filling. Now, my dad likes the cinnamon rolls a certain way. He likes a lot of the brown sugar cinnamon butter mixture, the glaze on the very bottom. So, and then I'll glaze the cinnamon rolls with powdered sugar glaze, but he likes the cinnamon glaze on the bottom, and he likes it like the caramelized. So There we go. So I'm going to make sure I do that, because the last time I did it, he said, next time you make them, could you make a little bit more stuff on the bottom? All right, so here we go. That's beautiful. And then I'm gonna have to feed my sourdough starter. Okay, so there's the dough. I'm gonna cover it with cellophane. I'm gonna put it off to the side and talk a little bit. So now that that's rising, I wanna go ahead and share with you some of the things that I'm using that are in the pantry that need to be used so that I don't have food waste. Now, I had a bag of flour, and here's one of my best tips to tell you, and you've probably seen this in almost every kitchen video I've done. I write down when I open food items. This one was opened 12/24. This is January, so it's been open about a month, little over a month, 2 days or so. But this is flour. I'm in Florida. With the humidity, flour doesn't last long. And so I want to make sure I try to use everything within a month. You notice in my pantry, I don't have a lot of food on hand because it just encourages food waste. But I have food security because I do have emergency freeze-dry food. And in the case that we have a hurricane, or, like we just had that snowstorm, historic 8.5 inches here in Northwest Florida. But anyway, this is best used by February 4th, 26. But I opened it in December of 24. I want to make sure I use it while it's fresh and before it goes bad. Yes, it can go bad. It can get weevils in it. So even if you keep it in airtight, that can happen. So I like to take my little permanent marker. Let's throw this away. I like to take my little permanent marker, and I like to write on the label or on the top when I open certain food items, like yeast. Yeast has a shelf life. You leave it too long, it will not be active anymore and your bread won't rise. So you have to use it pretty quickly. So this is 12/24. You can tell I did a lot of holiday baking. So I want to use this before it becomes kind of neutralized. Also, I'm going to be using, I had a bunch of these little snack size raisins. I'm going to be using these for my cinnamon rolls. And, all these little boxes, raisins are toxic to dogs, just so you know. So you don't want to drop them on the floor, throw them in the garbage if your dog gets into the garbage. But I just opened a bunch of these little raisin boxes, and I'm soaking the raisins in some water to make them nice and soft. Otherwise they get really, really chewy, especially when you bake the cinnamon rolls, because it dries out the raisins. So then you've got these really chewy, sometimes really hard to chew, especially for children or older people. So I soak them in water, something my grandmother taught me. So I'm using a bunch of boxes of these. I'm also this is the only thing I purchased to make these cinnamon rolls, with some brown sugar. I was out of brown sugar, so I'm going to open this today, but I'm going to write on here 1/25, because that's when I open it. Now I don't put the day, I just put the month and the year, so I know. Now I do the same thing with my condiments in my refrigerator, and then at the end of the month during my fiscal fast week, I try to go through and I look and I check the dates on the condiments, and I'm like, okay, this is probably, I like to use everything within 30 days. So then I plan my menu around what needs to be used. For example, we have some Italian dressing in there. I don't need a lot of Italian dressing. I make my own Italian seasonings, spice blends, and I showed you that video yesterday. But my husband likes Italian. So when I went to the grocery store yesterday, I planned the menu for the week. I bought a bunch of salad stuff. That way he can eat the Italian dressing on his salads. I'll prep those and have him take those to work. He was off today. So that way we utilize all of that. I even have little condiment cups to put in his lunchbox. All right, plus I know he's eating healthy and it saves money. Okay, I'm also going to be using some cinnamon. This is the cinnamon that I've been putting with my protein powder my chocolate protein powder in my coffee, making a coffee mocha with protein powder and a little bit of cinnamon. So I'm going to use probably the rest of this. And then I have some pecans. I'm going to chop these. I'm just going to sprinkle them on top after I put the powdered sugar glaze on the cinnamon rolls. And then, speaking of, here's my powdered sugar. I opened this just last weekend. It's written on there, but I don't want to open the thing because this has been opened and powdered sugar tends to go everywhere. But this is relatively fresh, but I'm going to use some of this on the glaze for the cinnamon rolls. And I will be using some sugar. Now this is my residual sugar. My sugar canister is all full. So this is my residual. I'm going to use this first because the stuff in the canister is a little less messy. And then I'll be using some butter to make the cinnamon glaze. Okay, so those are the ingredients. The only thing I purchased to make these cinnamon rolls is the brown sugar. Everything else I had on hand, and some of it I needed to use because it's been open for a month. A month is a long time for me because I cook every day. For you, a month may not be that long, but you know, everything is adjustable to what works for you. All right, so here's another money saving tip. I know paper towels make life very convenient for people, but it can get expensive and you're contributing to the landfill. I like to get these flour sack towels. I bought these at Aldi's. I got a pack of 5 or 6 for $5. I bought 2 packs. These will last me years. I can use them for cleaning windows. I can use them for cleaning mirrors. I can use them for cleaning anything that you don't want to leave any kind of streaks on. And when I'm finished, I can wash them in the washer and reuse them. This saves you a ton of money on paper towels. Now, I have some that I use only in the kitchen, and I have some that I use like when I'm cleaning the bathroom mirror or the mirrors or the glass in the house. I don't use those in the kitchen. I save 1 pack for kitchen use, 1 pack for the rest of the household cleaning. But I wash these when I wash my dish towels, and I wash those separately. So that's another money saving tip. All right, let me go ahead and I'm gonna start working on this glaze in just a minute, but then I'm gonna feed my sourdough starter because I have a little bread flour left and I wanna go ahead and feed since I've used some. Okay, I wanna show you my plump, juicy raisins. They're nice and hydrated, so they're gonna be very soft and flavorful, as opposed to, now I have another box of golden raisins and I'll use those for another recipe, but look at the difference. Now when you put this in the oven, it's gonna dry it out even further and I can barely even fold it. Whereas, squish, squish, squish. So that's why I soak my raisins. Now, if you really want a kick, you can soak them in rum, but I wouldn't feed those cinnamon rolls to kids. Now, let's feed this sourdough. This is my sourdough container. It has all my starter. Now, some people keep starters for generations. So, but I feed my starter every week, usually on Sunday. And then every time I feed it, I have to take a little bit out. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a full container. So I give it away if I'm not baking with it. But I usually make sourdough bread every Sunday. Got a little loaf of sourdough bread here. That's ready to use for toast. Now, let me get my filtered water. When you're making sourdough, you have to use filtered water because the chlorine can kill your starter. So now I have some sourdough flour, or some bread flour, sorry. You can see I wrote the date. Kind of tore when I opened the bag, but that's okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna measure because I do this all the time. Some people have to have measurements, but usually you feed as much flour and water as starter that you have. I've just got a little bit of bread flour left, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that in here. I'm not gonna use all of it because I need some flour to roll out my dough, and I don't have any flour since I used all my all-purpose. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more straight from the bag, and then I'm gonna reserve this for rolling out. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of filtered water. I'm gonna give it a good stir. Now, here's another tip. Don't put sourdough starter down your drain in your kitchen because it will clog it. So I'm gonna stir this up. Now, this is one time I will use a paper towel or a napkin to pull any starter off my spoon before I put it in the sink. Don't put it in your dishwasher with sourdough starter on it. This stuff is like paste. So I'm going to scrape as much off as I can. I don't know if you can hear my Frenchie snorting in the background. The Frenchies make a lot of noise. Okay, so now I'm going to wipe these before I put them into my dishwasher or my sink. We've actually had to clean the drain before because the sourdough starter clogged it. Okay, so these are ready to be washed. All right, so I'm going to give this some time to rise, and we'll come back together. I'll roll it out, slice it, and then we'll go ahead and finish up. So I have rolled out the cinnamon roll dough. Use my little rolling pin. I got it to about a ½ inch thick. And then I used my little pizza cutter to make it more of a rectangle. It's kind of more square than a rectangle, but we're gonna make it work. Okay, so in here I have some melted butter and some brown sugar and cinnamon. So I'm gonna spread this here, sprinkle on my raisins, and then I'm gonna roll it. And I also, oops. Now any leftover I will put over here in my, I've already mixed some brown sugar, and I'm gonna spread some of this to, just so it's not so gooey. And then I will put any residual, because some of this is going to kind of leak out when I roll it. There we go. And any leftover I'll put into the bottom to make a nice caramelized bottom for the cinnamon rolls. Yay, don't these look good? They smell wonderful. Okay, so I have some left over here. I'm going to save just a little bit because I have a little bit of extra dough, and I might do something with that. So I'll save just a little bit of that now. So I'm going to sprinkle my moistened raisins. Now you don't want too many because they will make it hard to roll the dough. But I want some raisins. Remember, raisins are toxic to dogs. So are grapes, hence raisins. And there we go. That there for reserve. Now I'm going to roll this as tightly as I can, and then I'm going to slice them, and I'm going to put them in here. So I'm going to start. And if you have floured your board, so I'm going to kind of push in and then pull over. If you floured your board well, then your dough shouldn't stick. Now look at that. Let's move this down so I'm on center. There we go. This is bothering me. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. Slice these with dental floss, unwaxed, unflavored dental floss. So I'm going to take a piece of dental floss. Instead of using a knife, and I'm actually going to get my ruler, lay it down here so I can kind of get them even. So, look at that. It's right in there. While these are rising, I'm going to clean up. I've already done the dishes from earlier, so I'm going to clean up, let these rise, and then we'll pop them in the oven. Okay, look how nice they look. They're starting to rise, but they will rise a lot in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and brush these with a little bit of butter because I want the tops to stay nice and soft and not get like hard and crusty. These are going to go into the oven, but before I put them in, I'm going to put in a pan underneath the other rack because I don't want the bottoms to burn. So the lowest rack has a cookie sheet, and then these are going to go here, and these little fellas go right alongside. Okay, here's another little tip. Now remember, I dated this, so I know when I opened it. But you know those rubber bands you get with your broccoli and your asparagus? They're great for sealing bags, little bags, so they stay fresher. There we go. Cinnamon rolls are out of the oven. Oh, they smell so amazing. Okay, so I didn't want them to get too brown on the top. I just wanted them to be nice and I didn't want them to be too hard. So I didn't brown them too much, but they are done. I've already sampled the baby ones. So I have some nuts that I just chopped. These are pecans. And so because I'm going to be sharing some of these, put some in this bowl for sharing, and I'm going to keep some. So I'm going to go ahead and spoon these out. They look so yummy. Nice and soft. A bit of a mess. There's 3. And then I'm going to frost them. I'm going to frost them and put the chopped pecans on. So this is just powdered sugar and a little bit of heavy cream. And I'm just going to drizzle. Isn't that beautiful? Sourdough cinnamon rolls. Let's finish these. Isn't that pretty? I hope that you found something of value here. If you did, would you please like this video, consider subscribing to my channel or following me on Facebook, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear some ideas from you of things you'd like me to share, and if you have a particular organizational issue that you'd like some good advice on, just post it in the comments and I may do a whole video just for you. And I'm always going to throw in money-saving tips, some health and wellness, because my goal is to help you enhance your happiness and transform your life. And look how nice these look. So yummy. Let's get every last little bit out of here. And there we go. Let's put the chopped pecans on. You can't beat homemade cinnamon rolls. Probably chopped a little too much nuts, but I'm just going to put some down and around. You never have enough pecans, not for a Southern girl. So I hope you enjoy your kitchen after it's nice and clean, and again, create zones that are easy to access the items that you need every day. Notice that the KitchenAid is not on the counter and how much room I have now. So, reconsider how you place your small appliances. Your countertops are prime real estate, and this is where the work is done in the kitchen. So we want to make sure we keep them clear. All right, have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Take good care. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you would like more support, ideas, guidance, frameworks, and some positive, uplifting suggestions, please check out some of my other videos. You can activate your subscription on my YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post newer content. But those playlists are a framework for you to organize all aspects of your life to enhance your happiness and transform the life that you're living. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, my dear friends, I hope you have a wonderful day.